vendors because of the the local practices and the regulatory. So we outsource to a third-party vendor. Where else recruitment? We outsource to India. We have tried India. We have tried some part of China. HR administrations we outsource to Philippines, and training development we outsource to Philippines as well. So from my experience, some are really disasters. Some really we have some good cases to share. So I mean, from my experience, let's say for the HR offshoring, one of the difficulties I've been faced before is when we outsource the recruitment and hiring functions to India. So we face a lot of difficulties with the reasons. First, cultural difference. Secondly, time zone, because India is actually 2 hours difference. So at a point of time, in the morning, we want to do something very quick. So we don't have sufficient or, the full work group is helping us. Whilst when we're leaving the office, so that is the time that we receive a lot of phone calls and inquiries. And communication barriers is more similar to the cultural things, because sometimes, let's say for some of our colleagues in Hong Kong, they may not speak, such a good or very foreign English, where else, in some areas of India, with the accent, it's a little bit difficult. So we have to, overcome all these barriers. And lastly is the regulatory and practice, because let's say for the recruitment functions, they need to learn on the Hong Kong practice, usually what we are going to do, how do we arrange the interviews, or that kind of things. And the same like, the HR administration work, they need to understand our process, a little bit of our local labor, ordinance, what we can do, what we can ask when we, work with the candidates. So all this basically is some of the challenges we need to face when we consider offshoring of functions to another region. And, from my previous experience, let's say for the recruitment, we have tried India, and it's not really a successful case. So we tried, a more remote Chengdu in China for the recruitment activities. It's then proven that right location is important. Let's say, from some of my experience, when we do the recruitment offshoring, we tried China, which is a little bit better than India because of the locations, because of the cultural. And later we try in the GBA area, which is it's a really good location and good case, because they are close to Hong Kong, they know the culture of Hong Kong people, they speak similar language, and it's more easier to communicate. And secondly, it's about what to offshore, because if we want to make it successful, we cannot offshore the whole thing. We need to cut, the workflow by phases. Which part should be done in Hong Kong, which part that could be outsourced to another countries. Taking an example as recruitment. So what we have done in the previous is all the back-end work, like, the job posting, the collection of CVs, the screening based on the JD, and even for the interviews, we are done offshore. But where else, when we come to interviews, when we come to negotiations of offers, when we come to employment confirmation, that will be done locally, because that will be more easy to communicate. And let's say for the back-end work, like preparing of employment contracts, preparing on all the onboarding forms, the process on day one, what will you do, what you have to bring. So that part of more on, a regular, fixed process, that will be outsourced. And then on the first day of joining, that part of things will be done by the HRBP. Okay, so that's why a very clear workflow, a very clear SOP is very important when we do the outsource, particularly the part of the task that they are going to manage. Okay, And the same thing, like, the company policies, number of leaves, what are the benefit plans, all that kind of things. They need to be very clear. But nowadays, that part is even more simpler. We just do it by the AI, then all the policies that can be explained, answered. No need to outsource to anywhere, okay? And last thing is, I think the most important is the right and trustful leaders in the offshore area. You have to pick someone who are very good in communication, very committed to make the things happen. They are the one to master the large populations who are supporting Hong Kong in all the HR functions. As I mentioned just now, from successful case, from some of the failures, what I have learned, so basically to make it happen, is first the roles and responsibilities for the entire process. Who are the responsible on that part or areas? It's a Hong Kong colleagues, it's a offshoring colleagues, who is doing what, okay? Particularly important is while we have a change of process, that is the most troublesome part. We need to have a very aligned communications. We have to write another, clear process on what are the changes. And secondly is because they are more on the processing functions rather than they're really planning part. So what we need to do is basically we need to continuous to monitor their performance. First, we need to set a very clear KPI. Let's say for a recruitment, we need to set a very clear measurement for every role, every positions. Every week, I would expect, take an example, minimum 6 CVs to be collected and sent to Hong Kong for evaluations. Secondly, the time, for setting up the interviews, time to hire. So basically, we need to quantify what they have done. How to measure that, they are doing in a good performance. So because for the, India or China, it's very difficult to comment. They will argue whether they are performing, in a good quality or not. So we need to have something, really a data-driven report or data-driven KPI, for us to measure and for us to push. And training is also very important. So we need to standardize our training, batch type of training. Everyone is doing the same kind of job for that particular functions. And we need to train up people, upskill some of the people. The core team, after a while, we need to identify who can pick up more. So we need to upskill them. They need to pick up a little bit more complicated work or even a supervisory work. Okay. And I think lastly, the most important is because in my last experience, I was forced to do so. That made me as a part of the KPI while I was working in a French global company. So we have 400 employees purely in Hong Kong. So originally we have about 6 or 7 HR, and because of the outsourcing, I can have 2, including me. So at that point, it's very frustrated. But when we set up all the right process, we take some time to train up the people, we get the right people, and then the most important is the collaborations. We need to work as a team. I need to own the functions. Okay, the outsourcing part is part of the Hong Kong HR functions. So with that will be more easier for us to achieve some of the success. Okay, so in the global company, it's very common that we do the offshoring. While I work in HKBN for 2 years, so at the very beginning, we don't have anything outsourced. So Hong Kong is doing Hong Kong HR functions. China, they have a dedicated team doing the HR functions in local PLC as well. So what I have done is picking some of the previous experience in the global company. But of course, we need to implement phase by phase because, we need some time to get the local people to adapt to the concept. In general, my feeling is I mean, for Hong Kong colleagues, they will think that, oh, you know, you are cutting the Hong Kong people, you are cutting our costs. That means, you know, I will lose my jobs. So I think we need to pick some of the key leaders. They need to be committed. They need to buy in. They need to know that, okay, so with this we are learning some new things. We are actually creating some opportunities for efficiency. For those that in Hong Kong, we could add value to do some really, you know, the HRBP role. We could do some more of transformation role instead of doing all the back office processing thing. So with that, I mean, with everyone's commitment, with a good training team, I think we will have more chance to success. So basically, I think this is my today sharing.
And I know that we have some questions in the chat box, but now it seems that we have some technical issues.
Is there
issues
any
here.
questions, or is there anything that, you know, the team could discuss?
Yeah, Catherine, I know that there are some questions in the LinkedIn comment box, but I think we do have some technical issues here, so that's why we can't see their comments here. So
Hello?
let's see. Yeah, let me take a look. I think we need to be agile, right?
Hello, Rita.
Not, technical. Can you hear me, Catherine? Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Hello, Catherine. Catherine, can you hear me?
Now can.
Can, right? I know that we have some comments in the LinkedIn comment box, but the issue is we have the technical challenge.
Okay.
Life is full of challenges, so we have some technical challenges here. So let me see if I can go to LinkedIn and then spot some of the question here. So can read it out to you.
Yep.
Let me see. Bear with me. The chat box, comment box. Yes. Okay. So what are the criteria you use to outsource these tasks? Because you just mentioned that, yeah, what are the criteria?
Okay, so basically when we consider the part of process that we could outsource is firstly a standard processing type of work, okay? So let's say payroll, so it's a kind of quite regular pattern of work, repeatable work. I think that is important. So let's say payroll, let's say benefits administrations, let's say, you know, collecting CV. Okay, one interesting thing I could share is basically while we are doing the, you know, the outsourcing part of recruitment. So basically we are considering, because we can't have local resources, you know, doing all the coordination work. So, so we are forced to ask the India group to make appointment with the Hong Kong candidates. So at the very beginning, it's a very challenging because, you know, as the Hong Kong candidates, they will ask, oh, which MTR exit I could go to the office. Oh, what is the line or number of buses that could arrive the fastest way? So the India people, I mean the India colleagues, have no concept and no clue where is where. So how we could sort that out is basically we draw a map, we do all the nearby MTR station, we do all the numbers and pass to the India group. So the India group, so basically what they done is they pass all the information to the candidates. And with a remark, in case you are lost or whatever, you just call this recruitment hotline locally in Hong Kong. So you have to think something out of the box to make it happen.
Okay, Catherine, I have a question here, because in the slide you also you mentioned that there are quite a number of considerations that we have to take note of, right? When it comes to outsourcing. Among all these top considerations, which one do you think should be the top of the top?
I think first, the most important part is you have to think about what part to be outsourced. Because if you choose the incorrect part or the part that cannot be done or cannot be offshore, that will be a big disaster. Because, it's not only internal work, it's really, with coordinations with outsiders. So I think the most easier way is pick some that is internal process. Even the room up is within the HR team. It's not going to be outside. Okay, the Hong Kong team can still, pick up and, clean that up. Then secondly is the right location. The location, as I mentioned, the best is nearshore. If offshore, the best is nearshore. Let's say for some companies, they have China team, they have the GBA team. That will be, the most ideal part that they can start to think of outsource. Even in HKBN, our China team is very sophisticated. Now our HKBN, we have consolidated group L and OD. So basically, we left 2 really for senior trainer in Hong Kong, and the rest all to be done by our China team. They can come usual. They can really conduct, the online training. No problem at all. Even if we don't say, people do not recognize that they are really from the China team. So I think for all these then can be, an easy point to start with.
Great. Then how about earlier you also mentioned about communication, right? When the management has decided that it's time to go for outsourcing for some of the functions. How did you work on the mindset of the people, especially for those in the Hong Kong team, right? You mentioned a bit about communication and so forth.
It's difficult.
So how will you manage that in order to get things done, in order to get the mission completed successfully?
I think first of all, you have to do a little bit of selling, telling them that, okay, to you personally, that will be add value to your profile. You know how to really, because every company is looking for, transformation, looking for efficiency. If you learn about it, this is a great opportunity to learn about the process, because it trains up your own mindset, how to think the things, how to plan, organize your tasks, how to make it happen. When you really, let's say, for the implementation for my previous job, after we have implemented the full services, very tough, very painful, but we are all very happy. Oh, it's really difficult to make it success, but we have done that, and then with a really great impact on, the headcount reductions, or cost savings. So that is important. So the buy-in is very important. And then the ownership, give them a KPI. You are the one to make it happen. You cannot blame the offshore, because you own the management, you own the supervision of the offshore. I think that is really important. Even it's a virtual reporting, I still want to align the offshoring team reporting back to the local team. I think, they have a joint responsibilities to make it happen. I think because it's very easy to have a finger pointing if we separate the 2 parts.
Got you. Okay, let's see. Okay, so do we have any other questions from the attendees? I think we have quite a number of attendees today, and okay, any other questions? Okay, great. So Catherine, just maybe the last question from me.
Yeah.
What is one thing that you would really love to, if there are so many takeaway from today's session, if we only have to take away one thing from your session, what will it be?
I think out of the box. So something at the very beginning, you think that no way to do that. But, because you have to do that, you have think, all the alternatives. Somehow you can do that. You can't believe. So I think of the box. Nothing is impossible. It's important. It's a good and positive way for us as HR, because we are always forced to do something that we think we can't do that.
Very nice. We have a question from my brother, Charles. How have you measured the success of HR offshoring?
I think the the KPI. I mean, for us at that time, we have very strict KPIs. So basically, let's say for the type of process that have been outsourced, it's a smooth implementations, and how is the cooperation? Let's say the headcount on the local side, the headcount on the offshoring side, the type of activities that have been done. Not necessary to be cutting headcount. They can do more things and then leave the local people transforming in some other different types of work. Don't always think of that. We are also for cutting headcount. Some of the things is basically, let's say for the payroll outsourcing, we have a very limited resources because the payroll costs the hiring costs of the people doing payroll it's not cheap. And then, the attrition is high because no one in Hong Kong prefer to do the repeatable payroll processing. So when we outsource, instead of hiring 2, we can hire 5. Then, the Hong Kong people is feeling happy. I don't need to do all this type of tedious work, but I need to check, and then I can spend more time on the CMB as well. So definitely it will be a win-win situation.
Great. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you so much for your sharing today.
Charles is asking another question. What are some of the negative trade-offs?
Wow, good question. Yeah.
First, you have to start with failure. Everyone, the managers will making complaints. Oh, how is it so late? And then if, the local people does not buy in, your colleagues or, those reporting to you every day will come to your room and complain. Oh, all these people, offshoring people is not doing their right job. So that's why it make up all the delay, and their managers coming to me to complain. So really need to take some time, and people were getting use of this. So I think the reinforcement is important.
Okay, deal with failures. I think it's very nice, very nice.
Yeah.
Okay, great. We have got a lot of nuggets of wisdom from Catherine, especially when we do outsourcing, right? First and foremost, what function are we going to be outsourced, right?
Yeah.
And then we need to deal with the mindset of people, get their buy-in, have the ownership and also alignment. Of course, we also have KPI to measure their success. Very nice, very nice. And more importantly, the only takeaway, if you're only allowed to take one, is think out of the box.
Yes, start with something small. Yeah.
Yeah, nothing is impossible. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Catherine.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
And so next week we will have this. We will have the Wednesday sharing again, and this time we will talk about how to adapt to technical changes, and we have the HR Director of Microsoft Hong Kong to share her experience with us. Yeah, thank you so much. Have a good day to everyone. Thanks, Catherine.
Thank you, Rita. Enjoy your birthday. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye. Bye bye.